jumped out of the car and ran inside the hospital.
The dramatic end to a shootout in South Auckland. Gang warfare the police top brass don't want to talk about. Naming gangs, they say, only helps gang recruiting.
I got this gear now.
But off camera we're told there's one gang that's an emerging threat on their radar. Saturday hip-hop in a central Auckland park supported by Youth Town and a local radio station. The place is swarming with Auckland gang Killer Beez. Their leader Josh Masters signing autographs, some would say recruiting wannabe gangsters. This DVD, Put Your Colours On, is the public face of the gang. It's had more than 80,000 hits on YouTube. Killer Beez are a direct copy of LA gangsters. They wear colours and bling and sing about how hard life is in the hood.
I'm a real life gangster, certified hustler.
And now Josh Masters has a growing profile as a kickboxing rapper called Gravity. He sings about being a gangster and a hustler. But is he?
I mean, here's a guy who's clearly got a bit of form. He's a large and imposing man. He's a genuine gangster. And everybody needs something to look up to. I mean, and to a lot of these youths, I guess Josh Masters is, a gang messiah. He's it.
A lot of people would see you as a bunch of gangsters. Would that be a fair description?
No, not really.
Not really?
Not really.
So why then has the Killer Beez got a reputation for things like aggravated assault and robbery and drug dealing, those sorts of things?
There's been no convictions of that.
No convictions of the Killer Beez?
No conviction of that.
So you deny anyone that suggested that that's what you're into?
Yeah.
Hey, yo. Right about now, it's time to put...
Well, the word here on the streets of Otara is that the Killer Beez are very much an organised crime gang, not just here locally, but across Auckland and increasingly further afield. So I'm off to the Manukau court to find out just what Josh Masters and the Killer Beez have been up to. I found Josh Masters has a long list of convictions, many for violence. In 2004, he was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison for assault, assault with intent to injure, possession of an offensive weapon, attempting to defeat the course of justice, and threatening to kill.
Have you ever done time in prison?
Yeah, I've done time.
What did you do in time in prison for?
I'm labelled as a violent offender, or was labelled as a violent offender.
Yeah. Do you think you've turned your life around then?
Yes.
You're not, yeah.
Yes, with the help of people that are opening up doors for me. How you open up the door and let me show my talent to New Zealand.
So Josh Masters is telling us he's like the leopard who's changed his spots. He says he's opposed to street violence. And yet Josh Masters has been involved in some very nasty violence in this street around 4 years ago. He led a group of 20 Killer Beez armed with sledgehammers, golf clubs and sticks in an attack on a family home. He hit a man with a hockey stick in the head as he was protecting some children. He fractured his jaw, put him in hospital for 2 weeks. And the reason for the attack? Well, the man's niece had complained about noise coming from the Killer Beez house.
They tend to be hyper-materialistic and hyper-violent. And while we've had violence in the past, often it's been just about showing how staunch you can be in your territory, whereby add that to the hyper-materialism of these new gangs, and we've got a different type of criminal element.
How many dudes you know roll like this? How many dudes you know flow like this?
These two dudes, they can get you a living.
Many of these boys on the streets of Otara belong to the Killer Beez.
What Killer Beez is all about? I know, love for the block, you know? Killer Beez is all about that, man. Yeah, it's family, it's brotherhood. It's all about brotherhood.
This is Speedy, who claims to be second in command of the Killer Beez.
Yeah, you want to see the gangster side of me? Yeah, I'm a mother Killer Beez, Speedy Guns, what? You all meth, N-E, mother know what's up? Those aces representing this mother. You mad up in this mother.
The gang provides a sense of belonging, status, excitement.
5, yeah, every day you see me on the street.
Killer Beez are seen largely as a feeder gang to the more established gang in South Auckland, the Tribesmen. The future, really, for gangs in this country, youth gangs particularly, is these LA-style street gangs, and I think we'll begin to see more and more of the more established gangs cozy up to them.
And the Killer Beez have close links with the older Tribesman motorcycle gang. When Josh Masters was last in court, police claimed he was president of both the Killer Beez and the Tribesmen.
Are you a patch member of the Tribesmen?
Yeah, I've been a patch member for a long time.
Yeah, and you still are?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a director, business director.
Yeah.
And lately, business has been busy for both the Killer Beez and the Tribesmen. Sunday can now reveal that Tribesmen gang members have been charged after the major shootout in Otara last month.
How many shots?
4.
Yeah. What do you think happened?
I think they chased after those drug dealers. Oh, no.
Was there a tinny house down the road?
Yeah, just up the road from us.
Helicopters and everything, they just all came budging in. Cops had gats and everything.
A shotgun shootout left 2 gang members in hospital. These Otara girls saw what happened after a high-speed chase.
What makes you think it was within 2 gangs involved?
Because the way his face was like all bleeding and stuff, and plus we could hear, and then cops just started like rushing in with guns and everything.
Armed police sealed off Middlemore, seized 2 shotguns. These girls say they've seen guns and gangs before.
Because you've got to pay your way on your street and plus pay your way in the house.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you're drug dealing.
So there's guns in the background. You know,
yeah.
But people don't
There's guns everywhere, but you wouldn't know there. You would think there is, but there's always guns around.
Yeah.
Daylight revealed the damage at number 9 Othello Drive. Shotgun blast shattered windows, peppered walls, blood on the driveway and at the door. This was not your average family home. It was a house for selling drugs, a tinny house that had been raided by the police before. When we come back, the tenant who says she moved out of the tinny house 6 months ago.
The safe was broken by gunfire.
And the landlord who says he didn't know his house was being used to sell drugs.
Looking at it now, it's obviously being stood over by a gang. It's been forced out of our house.
And the gang members in court.
Do not normalise gangs. They exist to plague every community through crime, intimidation, and in some cases, death.
First, gang warfare over a tinny house, and now it's been set alight. Totally destroyed by fire. Accelerant appears to have been used in 3 of the rooms here. The fire service have put water all over the place, which has got through all the walls. There's huge holes in the ceiling. This is very much a dead house. But the rent on this house was still being paid through work and income.
I had no reason to go around because the rent was being paid by Wins on Francis' behalf, and I presumed she was still living there.
I moved out last year.
Yes.
Yeah, I just left the place. I just wanted to get it all done up before I handed it back in.
But Frances Moore hadn't told Wins this, and so her benefit was still being used to pay the rent, while another group, who also appear to have been beneficiaries, moved in to sell drugs. So it appears New Zealand taxpayers have unwittingly been supporting a tinny house here in Otara. Not the first time that's happened. But what about the shootout? Well, that appears to have been a turf war between the Tribesman gang and a former Tribesman member over the drug trade. The Tribesman gang has a long history of drug dealing and violence. Back in 1999, the police seized from the Tribesmen drugs, more than $500,000 in cash, along with a variety of firearms, motorcycles and a boat. One of the Tribesmen arrested in this operation left the gang and has since been running the tinny houses in Otara, including 9 Othello Drive. But it appears the current Tribesmen are determined to push him out.
Well, the supposition has been that the Tribesmen are trying to drive boys out of town, close down the tinny house. Do you think that's a fair supposition?
I'm not too sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You just wait and see what happens in court, perhaps?
Well, You know, I don't know nothing about that. All I know is that a good old school friend of mine was hurt, injured, and I'm not happy with that. You know?
Is that Agostino?
Tribesman Agostino Tai was in court again this week on a charge relating to the Othello Drive shooting. A suppression order means we can't show you his face, but he's lost the sight in one eye as a result of a shotgun blast. Killer Bee and Tribesman Business Director Josh Masters was also in court to support his fellow tribesmen who'd been in the firing line. The Othello Drive shooting is of real concern to the authorities. They'd finally been getting on top of street violence in South Auckland.
Jason, you're under arrest, bro. Bail conditions, mate, and allowed to be drinking.
15 months ago, Sunday reported the formation of 3 new policing units, juvenile tactical teams, following 9 murders involving South Auckland street gangs.
You're under arrest for assault.
The government's pumped millions into social programs, and many of the gangster wannabes have moved on. But the Killer Beez have got bigger and more mobile.
To this point, the LA-style street gangs in New Zealand tend to come and go quite quickly with the personalities of their leaders. This one looks as though it may stick around.
And the Beez have been buzzing well beyond Otara. Last month, a series of random late-night assaults on Auckland's North Shore put 2 couples in hospital.
It's just sick. I can't even walk home anymore.
4 young North Shore men are facing serious charges relating to the beatings. Police intelligence sources have told Sunday at least one of them has a close relationship with members of the Killer Beez. The Killer Beez are also being blamed for serious New Year's Eve assaults in the Bay of Islands.
In Pai here at Christmas time, a couple of people in the camping ground up there were assaulted rather badly by Killer Beez. True? No? What about the North Shore? Is there a connection there with those serious assaults with Killer Beez?
They are, unfortunately, I think, a more menacing form of an older reality.
One man who's been making the connection between the Killer Beez and violence in the far north is Cabinet Minister Shane Jones. He strongly objected to the presence of tribesmen at Waitangi this year.
The reality is that the Killer Beez are associated with the tribesmen, whether or not they're a feeder group or a breakaway group. They exist for one purpose, which is to enrich themselves through crime, and if people get in the way, those people are going to get seriously hurt.
The people, you know, they look at the tribesmen, they've been busted for drugs and assault and murder and manslaughter in the past, and they think, well, you know, these Killer Beez can't be up to much good either.
Well, that's where you're wrong.
Isn't that a fair assumption, though?
No, it's not fair at all.
No? So all of a sudden the young kids are going to be clean living and...
You're going to be artists like young Sid.
Yeah.
They're going to be artists like myself. They're going to be New Zealand champions like myself.
Yeah.
And they're going to be businessmen like myself.
Yeah.
They have quite a sophisticated system of recruiting members. They've gone for the apparel and the accoutrements that we associate with American gangsterism, CDs, rap music, etc. And they're just a new form of an old plague.
We have the social conditions whereby which gangs will flourish. If you put certain ingredients into an oven, you're going to come out with a cake. Now, we have that in New Zealand for gang membership, so we can't be surprised by it. It happens all around the world in similar conditions.
We like to steal cars. We like to creep and crawl, rob people. Reason why? Because we got no money.
The ingredients in that cake: poverty, family dysfunction, little education.
So I gotta say to the police.
With nothing else going on, why wouldn't you join the Killer Beez? Gang membership may in fact be a perfectly rational choice for a lot of people. Joining the gang may in fact be the best thing for them.